Flyers with a win last night. They have been scorching hot, as we've told you about a month ago. To pay attention, you will be entertained. You'll start to see something a little different than you've seen in the past couple of seasons here. And I think if you watch last night's game, it was 2-1 with 10 minutes left in that game. I flipped the channel for 10 minutes, and I came back, and it was 6-1. Just like that, the final goal was scored by JVR, James Van Riemsdyk, to make it 6-1, and the Flyers beat a very good Maple Leafs team last night. Those two teams had split the series, both shootouts. One went to Toronto, one went to Philly, and Philly gets the rubber match last night in convincing fashion, which now, JVR, I would assume after a very hot November, you beat the Maple Leafs the way you did last night, people are going to start to take notice of what's going on in Philadelphia.
Yeah, for sure. I think, again, obviously they're a team over there, too, that was projected very highly coming into the season. So, obviously, when you can beat a team like that, certainly it's a nice one for us.
Yeah, and you scored that goal late in the game, and it just was a flurry. All of a sudden, bang, 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 goal, goal, goal. What has really gotten into the offense here as of late? I mean, I think for the common fan who just watches hockey and just can't kind of grasp some of the things, like, is there something different about the system, or is there something different about the personnel or the line? Like, what has kind of, do you think, added to this team offensively this year?
Yeah, I think the biggest key, you've seen a lot of pretty big steps forward by some of the other guys. If you look at offensively, I mean, you look at a guy like Konechny, the year he's having so far, Oscar Lindblom, two guys to really name off the top, and you have Joel Phillips coming in, Morgan Frost. I think, again, that's been really good for our depth, having guys like that coming in and having some good years for us to start the season. And obviously, we're going to continue to do that as the year goes on.
Yeah, and a couple of years ago, you had all these young defenders that were kind of drafted, and everybody was waiting. And then the question was, are the young defenders going to be able to be ready when the core group of offensive players are kind of in their prime? Are you seeing that right now, where these young defenders and guys like yourself and Claude and Voracek, and I guess Couturier is considered a kind of a veteran guy now since he's been in the league so long, even though he's still very young, yourself included, but you got a lot of younger veterans on this team. Have you seen that mesh kind of happen, where the younger defenders and the core group of offensive players are all kind of hitting at the same time?
Yeah, I think, again, certainly all the good teams, you tend to have a good mix of that. You need to have some of that youthfulness and some of that veteran experience as well. And I think we've got a good mix of that on our team this year. It seems like you mentioned, we have some guys that have been through a bunch of games in the league, some playoff series, that sort of thing. And then you have some young guys who are going through the league for their first, second, third times and trying to figure things out a little bit more. So I think, again, having that combination of all that is a good dynamic to have.
I'll talk with JVR, James Van Riemsdyk of the Flyers. Now, you were here last year. You got hurt. You came back. The team, it was up and down. It was kind of a frustrating season, I guess, for you guys. And then Elaine comes in. How did you guys – did you anticipate that there would be a lot of differences and that it would be a big-time adjustment? And are you surprised at how quickly you guys have been able to kind of make that adjustment?
Yeah, I mean, anytime you have a new coaching staff, new coaches come in, there's always an adjustment period. I think certainly you're getting used to how they want to do things and what their expectations are, and they're obviously getting to know players and how they want to use them and the roles they're trying to use different guys in. So obviously, again, we found a way to win some games here. Some of them we've eked out in shootouts. Some of them we've played well and found a way to win some close games. So certainly we're a decent spot in the standings right now, and we just got to continue to build on all this and not get complacent and try to continue to trend upward.
Now, obviously, Lane's a different guy. He's seemingly, a little bit more vocal, a little bit more outspoken, and it depends on, I guess, the individual person. But do you like his style and the way that he's kind of come in here? And I think, when players aren't playing well, he lets you know it.
Yeah, every coach has their own kind of unique style. At the end of the day, as players, for us, all we're just trying to do is just, again, go out there every game and put our best foot forward, do our job, and, again, make the most of all the opportunities and that sort of stuff. So I think for players, that stuff doesn't really change too much. So I think that's all we're really trying to focus on as players.
Now, what does change a lot is having very good goaltending, and it seems that no matter who has played goal, you guys have really got a big lift in that spot. I mean, Carter, obviously, but even Elliott, when he's been put in there, it seems that has obviously been a problem for this franchise my entire life. But is that for the players, is that as big as a boost as it seems to be?
You know what? I think for again, you look at all the successful teams, and obviously, again, you need that. That's a huge position in our game. I mean, it's kind of like starting pitching. It's like having a good quarterback, and that sort of stuff in other sports. And I think, again, those two guys for us, I mean, they've been outstanding night in, night out. I think every game they give us a chance. I think they make big saves to allow us to get our act together sometimes, and maybe we're not playing our best and that sort of stuff, and make saves to keep us in games and that sort of thing. So you can't say enough good things about both those guys and how well they've performed for us this year.
Carter played phenomenal last night. And then what happened in that third period? I mean, it was like I said, it was 2-1. There was 10 minutes left. It was actually 1-0. They went up. They tied it at 1-1. You guys come back 2-1. And then all of a sudden, 5 come in. I mean, how would you describe what happened in the final 10 minutes of that game?
Yeah, you know what? It's like you said, it was definitely a hard-fought game, back-and-forth game. I mean, both goalies I thought played pretty well for the most part, and then obviously we were able to get a couple point-blank chances there towards the end and able to capitalize on those. And again, I think someone was saying yesterday on the team it was the closest 6-1 game they've ever played, and just because, again, just kind of at the end we just seemed to get a little opportunistic and get a couple good chances and put the game out of reach, which was great, but definitely was a highly contested game for the most part.
Now, you guys picked up points in 14 of 16, 10 wins, a league-high 24 points in the month of November. You carried it over here, and then you look at the calendar, and you realize that Chuck Fletcher's been here exactly 1 year ago. Do you notice, the Flyers have always been thought of as like the Flyers, like, they always have the older guys around. The passes are a very big part of the organization. You were here in the past, and you left, and then you came back, and now you're with a different GM that brought you back here. Do you notice that the Flyers are kind of evolving, that things are different?
Yeah, you know what? Again, I think every time you have a different management, different coaching staff, that sort of stuff, they try to put their own imprint on things and that sort of stuff. So certainly they have their own sort of styles that can change and stuff. And you notice those sort of things day to day. Obviously, again, each team you're trying to come together as well as you can to start a season and build on things and make your own mark and that sort of stuff. But I think, again, we've got ourselves off to a good start here, and now it's just up to us to build on that and go from there.
Now, last year, you scored 21 goals in your last 39 games. You only had 6 in the first 27, and I guess you would suggest that your start of the season isn't exactly where you would want to go. You got the goal last night. You're up to 6 now. Do you anticipate that that's going to be kind of the way this is? Is that there's going to be different surges for different guys? Because it seems like last year you didn't have a lot of options. If you were a guy putting the puck in the net, you guys were struggling to score. But this year it seems like there's going to be a lot of guys going on hot streaks, and I would anticipate that you're going to be one of those guys at some point.
Yeah, you know what? I think, again, like I mentioned before, anytime you have a new coaching staff and a bunch of new players, as we have this year, there is definitely that process that the coaches go through and us as players go through, where you're trying to figure out how you fit in and your role and that sort of stuff. So certainly that's a fluid process sometimes, and you'd like it to be as seamless as possible, but the reality is it doesn't always work that way. So again, as a player, like I mentioned before, you just try to focus on what you can control, and that's just going out there every day and having a great attitude, a great work ethic, and trying to make the most of every chance you get on the ice. So I think that's what I've always tried to do my whole career, and that's what I'll always can continue trying to do going forward.
Well, in the very competitive Metropolitan, the Flyers 37 points. That puts them third, which currently would make them a playoff team. And, of course, it's never too early to start thinking about it. 5 straight wins, the most points in the month of November. James Van Riemsdyk with the goal last night. 6-1 Flyers win. They play tomorrow night against Arizona. JVR, thanks for the time, man.
All righty, guys. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. JVR, like all guests, appeared via the Boardwalk Honda hotline.